Hey guys, Randy Wilburn here from Business Podcast University with another episode. I wanted to come at you and share some information that I thought would be helpful. I saw recently a post on LinkedIn from actually a good friend of mine that's a member of the Society of Marketing Professional Services. It is a marketing group that serves the design industry primarily. I believe that's correct. If I'm wrong, you guys can correct me on that. But the bottom line is, she put a post out because one of her goals is to try to identify more young people that want to be marketing professionals, primarily in the engineering space or in the architecture space, so the design industry, okay? And this advice that I'm going to share with you really can apply to any industry whatsoever. But what I told her was simply that in order to try to, because her goal, her problem was twofold. One, she wants to attract young people. That's number one. Number two, she wants to connect with local universities, local thought leaders in those universities, i.e. the professors that teach the marketing classes and do the training to train these young people up so that when they do matriculate through college or matriculate through the university, they're able to get a good job. So that's certainly is something that anybody that is in a position to hire someone can certainly help with, right? And so I basically said I would share this little bit of information and an idea that I had that really would apply to anyone. So take it for what it's worth, and I'm not going to lay claim to it. But simply, to solve the problem that she has, which is trying to identify more young talent and to try to tell the stories of what it's like doing the work that she does as a marketing professional in her space, podcasting is one of the easiest ways to do it. And I think that if a company, any company, let's say her company or anyone, is to start a podcast, and they could focus on a number of the different things that that company does really well from a design firm perspective, but they could also focus on everything else that the company does, and marketing is one piece of that. You could talk to the accounting department to talk about accounting. You could do so many different things to make your conversations relevant for a multitude of parties. And I think it's lost on a lot of people that you can tell stories through podcasting. We all know that. But some people just don't connect the dots when it comes to that. And what I would encourage, especially design professionals, to consider, those of you that are hiring managers, regardless of what your vertical is, I don't care if you're a structural engineer, mechanical, I don't care if you are a landscape architect or a design architect, if you are a civil engineer, civil site developer, design, build, construction, it doesn't matter. You need to be telling your stories early and often. You need to be talking about what makes your career, what makes your job so special. Of course, you can talk about your company, but that gets old after a while. But if you take time to focus on the career that you chose and why you chose it, people will be attracted to that because they'll want to learn more. And so in the case of this young lady that's a friend of mine, my simple advice to her would be, do a podcast. And I know it's a shameless plug for podcasting. I don't care whether you talk to me or anybody else. You need to consider doing a podcast. And I think you could do a podcast to talk about the marketing practices of your firm. You could talk about your firm. You could extol the benefits and virtues of working with your firm. You could also talk about the dynamic history of your firm and your organization, how they came to be. You could talk about all the unique and interesting people that are in there. You could talk about yourself and how you came to be at that firm and how you continue to grow in your career. We don't do that enough. Career Day is only once a year. You guys need to be spending more time in the ears of people that want to learn about who you are and what you do, and more importantly, why they should care. And if you don't believe that people should care about the work that you do, the career path that you chose, the fact that your company is as great as they are, if they are, maybe they're not, I don't know, but you be the judge of that. The bottom line is podcasting is a way that you can do that. And so for this person, I would simply say to her, you should, A, connect with all of the professors that teach in the area that you focus in. So marketing and branding professors. I would connect with each and every professor that teaches a class within a 100-mile or 200-mile radius of your company. And I would connect with them, introduce yourself, tell them what you do, tell them one of your goals is to identify great talent that could potentially come and work for your firm, but also to educate that talent about so many different career opportunities within the space that you work in. So in this case, the design industry. And then I would proceed to ask them, would they be willing to be interviewed by you for a podcast that your company is doing? And if your company doesn't have a podcast, you need to create one. And once you create that podcast, then you can take the time to get on a Zoom call with this professor and learn more about them, learn more about how they're teaching the area that you focus in, and in this case, marketing. What does marketing class look like in 2021 right now? I know it looks a lot different than maybe it did even 10 years ago. I mean, clearly it does, because look at what social media has done. So I think it's important for you to think about ways for you to interact with these local universities that are around you, and even connecting with the community colleges. Don't rule them out. Don't say, oh, well, if it's not Texas A&M or Rice or whatever, then I'm not interested, because I'm sure your company has a lot of different people that you need to hire. And it would be good for you to do that. Now, if you go to these professors and talk to them and convince them to come on your podcast, keep it short, keep it sweet, 20 to 30 minutes, give them a playbook of these are the questions that we're going to ask. We're going to have an organic conversation. I want to learn about you. I want to learn about what you teach. I want to learn about the impact that you're making there at that university. And we're going to talk about, what are some of the concerns and issues that your students have as they go through school and as they start thinking about graduating and going off and working in the real world. And some kids are smart, right? And so a lot of these Gen Z kids that you're trying to attract, they will have access to podcasting. As a matter of fact, they're one of the biggest groups that are listening to podcasts right now. So this will give you an opportunity to not only scratch the itch that the university has to remain relevant and to be out there in the midst of everybody, letting them know about their university and why our school's the best. Everybody's saying that same thing. I think a school is only as good as their ability to educate and prepare people for the future and to create opportunities for them to find meaningful employment that will allow them to do the things that they feel called to do, right? And I know that's a mouthful, but that's just my thought. So that's my only little editorial comment there. So, but what I would do is think about creating a podcast just for that reason. Doesn't mean you have to create 1 million episodes. You don't have to be like me. I produce a podcast every week, multiple podcasts, but that's not what I'm encouraging you to do. I'm encouraging you to go out and create a season, a couple of episodes, talking about what you do, talking about what makes you special. You can do it under the umbrella of your organization. Maybe you could do it differently. Maybe do something along marketing in the design industry space. And then that gives you a chance to go talk to a bunch of different marketers from around the country. Learn what they're doing, learn some of their best practices, and then bring that back to your shop. And in the same way, when you do that, it's another way for you to connect with professors in other parts of the country, not just the ones that are in your own backyard. But I want you to kind of just build a concentric circle and focus on the people right in your backyard first. Connect with them. I guarantee you, nobody is going to turn you down to be interviewed. I very rarely ever get turned down if I ask somebody, can I interview them? Can I tell your story and share it with the world? Most people love to do that. Some people might be shy, and if you need some help, I can walk you through some pointers on how you get past that no. But more often than not, you're not going out to ask, Gary Vaynerchuk or some top marketer to come on your podcast. You're going to ask a professor, probably somebody that once they leave that classroom, once they leave their TA, they're talking to their family and other people. Maybe they're spending time learning and trying to improve their ability as a professor so that they can, be the best version of themselves. Regardless, they will talk to you. And with the right set of questions, you could go one professor after the other, learning about how they teach, what are the biggest pain points that their students have when it comes to marketing, what are the challenges that they're faced with, what are their concerns about going out into the real world and what that looks like. all of this information that you could glean from a podcast is invaluable. And I know this episode ran a little longer than normal, but I wanted you to get the point that I'm trying to make here is that a podcast could really solve your problem. And if you need specific help solving a problem with it when it comes to podcasting and why you should do one, maybe kind of ideating some of the different things that you should consider creating episodes around. I mean, I could, off the top of my head, rattle off a bunch of them. But the bottom line is it's on a case-by-case basis. You need to think about it. But it's a cookie-cutter approach. I mean, this person that I'm talking about, she could do it in her area. Somebody else listening to this, you might be up in the New York City marketplace. You could do it in your area. But we're not taking the time to build those relationships so that when you need a good person, when you want to hire somebody specifically, because I'm talking about marketing in your marketing department, you can go to that professor that you interviewed a year ago or even just 6 months ago. You better believe A, they're going to take your call, and B, they're going to talk with you, and C, if they have some really sharp students, they're going to tell you about them. And all I'm suggesting is that you do this over and over again. Wash, rinse, repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat. Any vertical within the design industry space specifically can do this. I'm speaking specifically to a marketing individual right now because she's the person that posed the question or the challenge that she's having, trying to create more diversity in her workspace, trying to create more awareness about the benefits of being a marketer in the design industry. I'm telling you, you can do it until the cows come home with a podcast. And it's really not as difficult as you think it is. So I'm going to leave it at that. That's just some food for thought. It's almost 12 minutes of information there. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Business Podcast University. I'll be back soon with another episode. Randy Wilburn signing out. And as always, you can check out our show notes at encouragebuildgrow.com/BPU notes. And you'll see the notes. I'll put some notes in there for this particular episode. And you guys can go to town. And as always, you can contact me whenever. I'm easy to find. And you can certainly, because I'm posting this on LinkedIn, you can message me right at the bottom of this video and say, hey, I have some questions for you. Do you have time to jump on a call? And we'll figure something out. That's all I have for today. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.